Let us take you on a journey to explore the blue zone island of Ikaria. We visited Ikaria for almost 2 months on our quest to learn about its secret of longevity. Check out our other videos on Ikaria where we talk about this subject too, for in this video we focus specifically on our visit to the small fishing village of Magganitis. Magganitis is located on the southwestern part of Ikaria. It is specifically famous among tourists for its beautiful Seychelles beach. We have a video of Seychelles beach linked above.
Magganitis is home to less than 150 people. The village is situated right by the coast with rocky cliffs at its backdrop. All this provides a unique and picturesque place to live. But Magganitis is a modern village as it stands today. Similar to Gialos, which is a new settlement built in the 19th century, Magganitis was populated after the concerns of pirates had long gone from the island. Piracy was a big problem until about 1820s. Ikarians who lived by the shore were easy prey for adventurous marauders. Thus, most Ikarians lived in the mountains and shunned coastlines like the plague until then.
We stayed in one of the Airbnbs with this incredible view of the Ikarian Sea. The village has 2 very small stores that sell food. One is called Cafe Neos Donisi, or Cafe on the Island. It sells some local fresh produce, pasta, rice, and other non-perishable foods. The store also functions as a cafe and is a lively gathering spot among tourists.
The other store is located in someone's home somewhere on the street. You will see a sidewalk sign saying that they have a small grocery store and a restaurant. The owner, a sweet lady named Bubu, is famous all around the island and can speak a little English. If you don't have a car, be aware that the stores in Magganitis are very scarce in produce compared to other towns. Although we did visit early in the growing season in May, we found local zucchini, which was mostly about it.
If you run out of food, your other option is to visit the few restaurants in town. We have been to 3 of them and their food is super delicious. Almost all restaurants in Magganitis serve Greek dishes cooked from local seasonal ingredients. See our video linked above that covers our visit to all of Magganitis restaurants that were open on our week-long stay there.
We talked to a few locals in Magganitis about Ikaria's longevity. Some of them expressed skepticism that Ikarians will continue enjoying longevity. The reason they told us was that locals began eating unhealthy processed food. They also told us that Ikarians now have too much available and eat more than they probably should.
One elderly woman told us that in her youth she would climb the mountains and trek to Gialos and back for school, as Magganitis had no school and there were no roads at the time. That must have taken hours. It is often said that a major key to longevity is exercise, specifically walking. But there's another potential longevity secret to Magganitis that is very interesting.
A young local told us that the village is named so because of the rich mineral content the mountains contain there. Can you guess what that mineral is? If you thought of manganese, then you are correct. The locals there believe that the manganese may contribute to longevity as the spring water they drink comes directly from those mountains. So we've been drinking mostly like bottled water, but then here we were kind of like forced to drink out of tap, and just because there's no bottled water sold here. So we noticed that there are many springs like this. I don't know if this one works or not. It doesn't work, unfortunately.
But the other ones did.
Yeah, the other ones did, and we've been just drinking tap water here. It's amazing. It's
very delicious.
Very delicious water.
Very sweet.
So I bet that they just take it from the source here, somewhere, spring water. Some beehives here.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
It's like here, here, here. Cultivating honey on Ikaria is a big thing. Magganitis is no exception. What's interesting is that most honey is made of wild hardy herbs such as savory, wild lavender, and heather. Ikarians produce raw unfiltered honey primarily for their consumption. Only a limited amount of it gets exported.
If you'd like to try Ikarian raw honey, take a look at Klio's online store by clicking the link in the description. Klio brings authentic Ikarian honey and other Greek wild herbal teas to US customers.
Besides Seychelles beach, Magganitis has 2 other beaches. There's one located by the harbor called Gialos. It is very picturesque and has a restaurant there with a stunning view. This is also where the ferry boat arrives if you're planning to travel to Magganitis from Agios Kyrikos. We have a video that goes over in detail about the ferry on Ikaria, linked here.
The other beach is Fyrodi. It is very serene and the water is beautiful.
So we're going to see Fyrodi beach here in Magganitis. Some waves. but not too strong.
So it's equally as beautiful here as in the Seychelles beach. The sand, at least you have some sand. It's a bit painful, the sand, but at least you have sand. And the water is beautiful too. It's just not as turquoise as there, but also beautiful.
There's a cave to the left.
Yeah, I wonder what's there. When we visited Magganitis in late May, the water was not super warm, but still pleasant enough for a quick soak.
When we walked from Fyrodi beach to the harbor, we encountered a beautiful Greek Orthodox church. It is dedicated to Saint Phonoris and Saint Paraskevi. We later learned that not all churches in Ikaria have a permanent priest. Instead, there's one priest assigned to several churches. The priest travels and conducts services according to a schedule.
As you walk around Magganitis and its trails, you will inevitably come across these boulders with space inside. The boulders we show here were used as temporary shelters or hiding places from pirates. But there are many more of these so-called anti-pirate houses on the island. Some of them have a much more sophisticated build-out.
Getting beleaguered by pirates was not unique to Ikaria only, but Ikaria was at the crossroads of many rulers who rarely took care to protect it. For this reason, piracy got out of hand, especially during the Ottoman Empire ruling. Left to fend for themselves, Ikarians had scarce means to fight back. Instead, they chose to abandon the coast and adopted a daring strategy. They moved into the mountains to make the island appear desolate for pirates from the sea.
When the Ikarians built their stone homes, they were squat stone-building dwellings. Typically, they used boulders and cliffs at their base. The reason was simple: the houses had to be invisible from the coast to the pirates. Most dwellings had primitive interiors, but Ikarians spent most of their time outside anyways. Also, chimneys were a big no-no. Otherwise, pirates would spot columns of smoke and would know where to attack. So Ikarians built their hearths so that the smoke would dissipate discreetly.
Around the 1820s, the US, Britain, France and Russia sent their warships to patrol the Aegean waters. Since then, piracy and marauding ceased to exist. Ikarians no longer needed to play hide-and-seek games with pirates. Interestingly enough, Ikarian longevity can be traced down for more than 400 years, which includes the treacherous years of piracy.
We also hiked a few trails in the mountains of Magganitis. We read about one hike from Magganitis to an old house with artifacts in the mountains. Unfortunately, many hikes on Ikaria do not have their names marked. You may have to ask locals to know where to go.
It's a really beautiful hike. It's like as if you are walking in some ancient Greece. So you have even markings here. So they're leading either that way or you can go that way.
We took this hike that started behind a house at this location. Unbeknownst to us, it would actually lead to an old quaint church dedicated to Saint Elijah.
Actually, having little information when traveling can be quite advantageous. Ikaria largely remains unexplored and shunned by tourists. Most people flock to the islands of Mykonos or Santorini. We can understand why, but with that comes the huge drawback of hordes of other tourists. Conversely, Ikaria was pretty much empty. We had all these beautiful landscapes all to ourselves. This is especially true if you visit the island off-season as we did in May and early June.
As we hiked, the scent of wild herbs permeated the air. Sage, savory, lavender, and many other herbs were in bloom. We learned that Ikarians gather wild mountain herbs and make teas from them. Very often, they would drink them with homemade honey for breakfast. The thyme herb that we picked from the mountains there had a deep red color when brewed into tea, which we've never seen before. Perhaps this is due to the Magganitis.
Along the hike, we saw remnants of what probably used to be a shepherd's trail back in the day. In Ikaria, people still continue to live a traditional way of life. Maintaining gardens, small-scale farming and tending to goats and sheep is still alive. For this reason, the quality of food is not comparable to your typical supermarket produce. What's more, Ikarians get to spend a lot of time outside and work together as a community as a result.
When we asked Ikarians about the secret to longevity, they always listed community as the #1 reason before anything else. They said that in Ikaria they don't know of clinical depression because no one could hide it, and so the community took care of each other when needed. We think that the resulting lack of stress is truly the main secret here.
As we continued on our hike, we began questioning ourselves where we're going. And at that exact moment, we saw the rooftop of St. Elijah Church from afar. Getting close to the church is not easy. You may have to scramble and climb through the terraced gardens, so be very careful. St. Elijah Church is built using traditional methods from stones and plates or schists. When looking down, we saw that the church overlooks a tunnel right near the Seychelles beach. It was surprising to find a church in the middle of nowhere that was hard to get to, but there is a history behind it. According to Greek stories, the prophet Elijah was a fisherman. He left his village in search of a place where people knew nothing about the sea. He would show them an oar and ask them what it was. At some point he reached a mountaintop village where locals thought that the oar was just a stick. So there he settled and built a church. For this reason, many churches dedicated to Saint Elijah are built deep in the mountains and far away from the sea.
There was also an old abandoned stone house without a roof. We don't know if it was someone's permanent home, but it likely was, judging from its size. We wondered about how people survived in this environment. Although there were many terraced gardens and olive trees, it was likely not easy to grow something on a large scale here. The environment is too harsh. So we speculate that people survive mostly on olive oil, herbs, honey, goat dairy, and meat here. Do you think that this is accurate? Let us know in the comments below.
Many promote a Mediterranean diet as one that has ample seafood consumption. As far as seafood goes in the Ikarian diet, it's not a common food even today. Back in the pirate age, not only was it dangerous to fish, but the seas were quite treacherous for non-motorized boats. Also, it was an arduous walk up and down the coast. Most people who tend to live long, such as Ikarians, didn't have much seafood. Talking to locals confirmed this for us. Since most Ikarians lived in the mountains, fish was not a preferred food. Conversely, goat and sheep are easy to herd on Ikaria's lush mountains. This way, locals had a more predictable source of food.
Ikarians were always surviving and bared no thought as to how much omega-3 was in their food, and yet they achieved remarkable longevity without much fish. However, their diet is still high in omega-3 without fish, since the animals feed only on wild herbs that have omega-3. For example, we were served a huge purslane salad at a local family's dinner in another village. Purslane is a wild herb that is extremely high in omega-3.
Also, many Ikarians continue using traditional methods of processing food. For instance, take olives. Ikarians, they don't necessarily process olives the way that we're accustomed in the stores that we buy.
I know there are two ways I've read, and just recently, there are two ways to process olives. One is to use lye, a chemical, to remove the bitterness, and the other one is using some kind of salt water to, maybe seawater, to remove it somehow. And maybe if they use the second method, the seawater, maybe it's not as effective, so the bitterness remains. And when we ate the olives in a restaurant here, it wasn't bad. It was just you have to get used to the taste. But
bitter food is very healthy. It aids digestion and food absorption, as well as cleanses the liver. Many Ikarians also eat wild greens that tend to be bitter too. There are many more videos that we will have on Ikaria, as we have lots of experiences to share from this amazing Blue Zone longevity island, where it is sad that people forget to die. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel for more. Also check out our blog posts that go in more detail. Thank you for watching.